Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Nice to see you, nice. Yeah. Hello? 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 Yeah. So tell me if there's any problem with my audio. Somebody said that it was a little low, so I've just put on auto level. So hopefully that's okay. But yeah, maybe you can inform me if it's not working okay. You can do that in chat, or you can do that in Skype. Yeah, danke. That is helpful. Okay, so I would like to begin with a meditation. So if you could sit back, relax, take your hands off the screen, shut the eyes, and go into a deep trance, that would be fantastic. Yeah. Okay, so when we do the meditation, I don't really have a particular formula or something that I think you should do. So you're welcome to do whatever you like. There's recommendations, but they all come with the disclaimer of it's not actually you doing. Who is the you that's doing the meditation? Who is it that's doing it? It doesn't mean it doesn't get done, pardon me, but who is it that's doing it? The illusion is that I do. I am meditating, and this is where it all begins to go kaput. The idea that you meditate. Meditation happens, and then there is a story overlaid that I meditate. I meditate. And that is not true that you meditate. Meditation happens. Yeah, so the three options that I give is just sitting there. That's one. Or the other is the mindfulness of breathing, which is counting your breath. Every time you breathe in, you count 1, and then you ascend all the way up to 10, and then when you get to 10, you start again. So you just keep counting your breath up to number 10, and then back again. 10, and back again. Yes. That is all. And then the last one is putting your attention in consciousness or I am. Putting the attention into that. Okay, we shall begin. I have forgotten my headset as always. So while I go and get my headset, I will go and get my headset once we start meditating. But I will be back. I won't be long. Yes. Okay. Music. Okay, los geht's. So before we begin, I have a public announcement. Somebody bought tickets to my online event on the 15th of January, and they paid into my bank account. And I presume what happened is that they saw the bank details, and then they paid into the bank details, but they didn't complete the purchase on my website. So then after that, you had to like click to press purchase. So they paid for the event, but they've not got any tickets or any information about how to access it. So yes, so I'm just going to read out their name, and then hopefully they can email me through my website, or they can just go on and book the ticket, but without paying for it. Just press manual, but book the ticket. Their name is D.J.H. Gillen. I think it is Gilgen. Yeah. So hopefully you'll get in contact, because I feel so sad that you paid for it and then you don't get any information to actually come to the event. Yeah. So it's D.J.H. Gillen. And I don't have any emails from you, so I looked up your name in my emails, but I couldn't find any information on you to email you. Yeah. And that's the first announcement. If you want to join me for any events, I have 2 new events this year. I haven't done anything for years because of the big C, and also because I was doing too many one-to-one sessions. So I'm doing an online event on the 15th, and it's a small group, and it's not recorded or put onto YouTube. So it gives people more the opportunity to ask questions and to be vulnerable. Yes, that's on the 15th. You can find that on my website. And then the other thing is the end of May in the south of France. They do a conference, like non-residential, but it's in a touristy town in a beautiful place in the Midi-Pyrenees. And you can find accommodation within walking distance, and restaurants and supermarkets and nature. It's so beautiful here. Yes, I'm here at the moment where it's going to be. Yeah. So those are the 2 events, and if you are the person that paid through the bank account, please get in contact so I can actually add you to the event. Yes. Okay, what's the title of the talk? Competing with and comparing yourself to others' enlightenment. Yeah, I mean, that's a little like what I was trying to say in that title, is like looking at others, listening to others, and then comparing yourself to the other. Like how enlightened the other is in comparison to you. That's kind of what I meant, but it wasn't a very good attempt at capturing the title. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I accidentally lost a page there. So competing and comparing is such an interesting aspect of the mind. When I say mind, I kind of mean like the thought processes. Because what it points to is there is a you that's in comparison to someone else. There is a you in comparison to someone else. And what is this idea of you? So what and who is this idea of you? So if you asked the majority of people, their idea of themselves is something in time, an action they've done in the past, where they're heading to in the future, their talents, what they're good at, what they're not good at, their job, a doctor, a cleaner, a fruit picker, a dog trainer. So there is a narrative of something that's in past or future that you believe is sitting there and holds all these qualities and is in relationship with the other. So most people are walking around the whole time with this identity that they've formed, and it's not just as simple of what I've said. It goes off into many complicated directions. Like, so you have more authentic character, and then you have all these delusions of what you've been taught by society, by your parents, by traumas. So for example, you may identify as a banker, and then you might have lots of strands that come off that. So you might have, I am a banker, but I am bad for being a banker. Being a banker is bad because it's corrupt. I am ashamed of my work. I don't like my work. Money is evil. Or you might have, I am a banker. I am better than other people. People who aren't in the money industry and business are not good enough. I'm better. I'm more superior. People respect me for it. So there could be all these like strains that go off everything that you identify with. So there's this like complex midriff, I've forgotten that word, complex concoction of what you are, which is massive. And I don't think there are any two people the same. Every two people are so unique in that personality structure and in those beliefs. And so most people in society believe this to be who they are, and to me that is suffering. To not have any separation from that person, to believe that that is who you are, that you're better than someone, that you're worse than someone. And often people's ideas about themselves fluctuate. So you have, I'm better than other people, then I'm worse than other people. So it's not like you're fixed on one, it moves. And then also there's often like, I'm better than someone has, inside it, I fear that I'm worse than somebody. So there's all these opposites that get tangled together. So this is quite a complex notion, and I speak about it as if it's nothing, but it is quite complex, this idea of yourself, and then the way that that self interacts with others. And we need others in order to position ourselves. So to be the best banker, or to be better because you are a banker, you need others which are lower than you, or you need others which are higher than you. And all of that is contained in your imagination. As soon as you form a sense of self, you need to be able to compare yourself to other forms in order to find that. I'm a banker because I'm not a dog trainer, or a husband, or a shelf stocker, or a fruit picker. So you know that you're a banker because that says all the things that you're not, so it narrows it down to that. So our mind is constantly working in this comparison. Comparing. Like, you know Lisa is Lisa by knowing that she's not the sofa and not the pillow. I mean, that would be very trippy if you kept getting confused if she was the sofa or the pillow. It might happen if you smoked a lot of weeds or LSD or hallucinogenics. Might be getting confused. Like, who is Lisa? Most of the time we don't narrate these stories to us. They come as a feeling in the body, and that's what Freud and Jung most probably, or what they were most really pointed to when I think it was Freud that invented the idea of the unconscious. That it's unconscious because it's a feeling. So you come in contact with someone that's a cleaner, and then you feel higher than them. And that might not be your narration, it's the unconscious. So what's wonderful about non-duality is it's pointing back to your true self, which isn't found in opposites. So there is this element to you that doesn't contain an opposite and isn't veiled by the mind and by what the narrative and the storyteller and the feelings portray. So in the human world, you might feel lower or higher than someone. You might feel good or bad or right or wrong. And that's not necessarily suffering. The suffering is the attachment to that and no sense of who you truly are. So losing the sense of who you truly are, even though you can't really lose it because that's who you truly are, so it can never really be lost. But it seems to get veiled, and the illusory self, So the self that's always changing, the character, and your true self get merged, so you can't distinguish who you are. It's kind of like lost in the background because you're so focused on form, on yourself and the other. So who are you truly? That's the fantastic bit. Who are you truly? Yes, 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 yes. Who are you truly? Who you are truly is something which cannot be found in time. But it's not even something. I'm just saying something because I don't have any other words for it. It's not human, it's not personal, it's not a thought, not a feeling, not an idea. It is, you could say, an empty looking and a sense of beingness. So this empty looking and this sense of being alive. But it's not yours in the human world. So the person thinks who I truly am is consciousness and the I am, and I've got to hold on to it. But you is always something in time. You are appearing in it. It's here already. The idea of you holding on to it is an idea. Doesn't mean don't do it, just like doesn't mean don't meditate, don't do yoga, don't go to therapy. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just trying to point to something which is beyond you on the human level, but is truly you on the absolute level. And it's in every experience and it's totally free. I would call it love and emptiness. Like, so to me, the I am represents the love, but not I am something, not I am as something you know. So often it's described as consciousness is conscious of the I am. It's this sense of being that's here immediately. Immediately. And it is this empty looking that's here immediately. In every experience, those two opposites, you could say, but the same, are always, they always are. There's always this empty looking and this sense of beingness. The character thinks, I am conscious and I am. So it holds on to them and they're merged into the feelings and the thoughts. So it's always, I am happy. I want to get this. I want to understand. I am looking. I am placing my attention. I am doing. I am producing. But there is no I am that belongs to you. There is no consciousness that belongs to you. They are the true essence. They are the fundamentals that are right here. They are fundamental qualities that are right here, always. And you could say, in a way, if we're like poetic about it, they are the bridge between life and death, between existence and not existence. And existence and not existence are what you are, you're both. And then these are the bridge between that. Because if there's no consciousness and beingness, which are one and the same thing, there is no appearances. There is nothing happening. There needs to be consciousness in order to be things. You could say that all things are conscious. They inherently arise with consciousness. And none of this is contained in the body. So the mind is also telling you continuously that consciousness and the I am belong inside the body, and I am looking. Whereas they are not contained inside the body. They are all places and no places. So the love and the looking are in all things. Are all things. And these human bodies are being used in order to have this particular experience. So it's seemingly as if we're looking through these bodies at the world, but actually it's everything that's looking. So when you move your attention, your imagination is telling you it's the head that's moving the attention, or moving the lens. And that's the way it appears. But actually, it is life that is moving. That's so hard to put into words. This is so wonderful. This is so beautiful. Pardon me for the burps. I don't know why that's happening. What's happened with the human is we've got lost in the daydream of thoughts. Our thoughts, it's like this energy, like it's thinking, but it's also this energy of attachment to the thinking. It's a belief in the thinking. So it's this belief that what we think is real and what we feel is real. Whereas actually the only thing that's real is what you are right here, right now. It's so miraculous. And what's being talked about isn't just this recognition or some type of understanding. It is an energetic expansion from being inside the body to being all places. And when I say that, your mind is instantly going to compare itself to me and try to work out where it is in the world of enlightenment. And just know that's nonsense. That's going into delusion. What else is here? It's okay to feel that. I'm not trying to say you're wrong for feeling that, but it's just seeing it for what it is. I have delusive thoughts. My character has delusion thoughts. It's knowing, or just knowing that what you truly are, or seeing what you truly are, is beyond that. So it's okay for all those things to come up, but it's not you, it's not a character, it's not a limitation. They are simply feelings that are appearing, giving a particular experience. You are beyond that. You are beyond that. You are beyond that. So we come together here in the name of the Father and the Son, Holy Spirit. I've forgotten. Father and the Son, Holy Ghost. And I've forgotten the fourth one. That was just a bit of a joke. So we gather today in order to, like, you know, those religious services that we've all spent many hours in, which have beautiful meaning in it, but it's often that people that are teaching it have actually forgotten who they are. And so kind of teaching an intellectual concept. So anyone that is listening is welcome to, or listening live, you might be listening after the talk, which is a little bit surreal. You're welcome to ask questions. My Skype address is Cairns12, and you can send me a friend request now. I take preference to people that want to call in, and if you want to call in, please make sure you've got good internet connection, quiet space, headset with microphone, just send me a message saying call me, and don't put anything after it so I can see it in the list of chat in Skype. And also, when you call in, please try to have a question ready. Yes, this is a good idea. It helps it. I know that it's nice, and other people have done this last week, to phone up and see what happens. That is really nice, and I really appreciate that, but it flows better, I think, if you have a question ready, because that's what I think after many years of doing this. It sometimes can be really beautiful that way, but it's mostly better to be prepared. Yes. Okay. So we will go to questions. Yeah, and please always tell me if there's a problem with audio, even if you're not sure it's you, because I can't tell. So it was lower apparently the last couple of streams, so I've put it up a bit higher. So hopefully that's working better. Hey Osborne. Oh yeah, and just an advertisement for Osborne's channel. He has a channel called, I think it's Video Clips Lisa Cairns, Osborne channel, or something like this. He does video, he edits my videos into short clips, and you can find him on YouTube. You can find it associated with my channel. Hey Thomas. Hey Lucas. Hey Lisa, my question is, how is awakening enlightenment different from madness and insanity? In the past, I had experiences of mine being more open, and I was conscious of my existential perspective on reality. In that state, the humanness was so small and alien. Even being alive in time felt alien and unreal. From prior mushroom trips, I remember that the next step would be not being able to differentiate between spoon and soup, as everything is felt as one without bias for infinite human survival. It felt like losing grip on reality and going insane. I know descriptions of the idea of enlightenment is not enlightenment. I was asking nevertheless. Thank you. Yeah, hey Lucas. Yeah, there is like a sense of insanity to it, because okay, so Davy, I don't know how you called them because I've got it on red, do not disturb. But Davy, if you just put call me, I will call you when I've finished asking Lucas. So don't just call in if you want to call me. Right, call me, and then I'll call you when I'm ready. Danke. Yes, it does. There is a sense of madness to it, because You're so used to living from this idea of a person. But that's kind of more of the process. As it begins to settle down, then that will dissipate. Like if you're taking hallucinogenics, or if you're having like mad states, as in like what people call mental illness states, then or insanity states, then it will be more extreme. But often when people do have some sort of psychotic episode, they do touch on non-duality. So often you hear lots of talk about God and enlightenment, Jesus, when people lose grip of reality. But there's normally other things going on there as well. Yeah. But yeah, there is moments where it does feel very insane to be so present to what's happening, to not be separate from it. The person is so used to narrating its story and living in the narration of you and living in time. And that's very unsettling. And that can cause the mind to get very rapid and very disturbed. Yeah, non-duality isn't for the faint-hearted. It is really challenging your beliefs and your ideas about yourself and about the world. But as the mind changes, it then begins to settle down. It's like it gets shaked up like a champagne bottle, and then poof, and it then transforms into a new way of functioning. Thank you, Lucas. Hey, Nick. I vote for Herbie as the most enlightened one around. Yeah. Hey, Izzy, I love you, Isabel. So David, is that how you say your name, David? David. Hey, David. Dear Lisa, I really appreciate your unique way to convey a non-dual point of view without always falling into impersonal statements such as nobody here, no person, no world, no, 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 no. What I see in today's non-dual scene, a series of young lads and lasses who proclaim themselves awakened and enlightened. I see one of them who claims to be enlightened often discredits everyone who is into meditations or other parts. If awakening and enlightenment happens, they can happen also to someone who is meditating or playing with the dog or sitting in the toilet or chanting Hare Krishna or in jumping from a skyscraper. Why not? Yeah, I think in the beginning I spoke more in an extreme way. I don't know if I was ever really into discrediting others, because I just felt like I didn't really know, and what others' experience was, and I don't know if I really wanted to get into that. I think this often happens when people have an awakening, is they go to more extreme non-duality, and then after time they mellow. Like if you look to a lot of like gurus that aren't alive anymore, like I'm thinking of one, Ram Dass. When I saw his early videos and earlier talks, they were like very extreme non-duality, or what we'd call neo-advaita, which is not really neo-advaita, because I feel like it's something that happens after you have one of these big bangs or shifts or realizations. It sometimes can happen when you've just had an intellectual realization as well, like it can be intellectually perceived. And because, yeah, that's just often what happens. And then as that integrates more and more into the body, then the person tends to relax and then speaks more about the person. Yeah. And it's interesting, so it's like that explosion happens, and then it has to be integrated more and more into the body. And then I think as that happens, then there begins to be a talking about both. But it doesn't really matter. Like for you or for anyone there, it's really what you resonate with. Like what resonates inside, rather than shoulds or shouldn'ts, or this is better or this is worse. Yeah. And it could be in those teachers that are discrediting, there could be something that feels they've got something over people, or they know something over people. Or it could just be like, when you have these awakenings, it feels so radical that talking personally for many years sometimes can seem very weird. You know, there's got to be this getting used to this expansiveness and impersonal, and then also being in relationship with others. It's like a getting used to it. But it also happens the other way around. Like I've listened and been to so many teachers that say their method is the best. So it can also be that they're a meditation teacher. Like I used to be involved in a Buddhist group, and I'm sure that they thought that they were the only right Buddhist group, like theirs was the best method. You know, it's our tendency as humans to compare. I am better, I am worse. This is better, this is not. And in the end, we don't know, because life is so magical and mysterious. Like we don't know what's better or not better. We just know what's happening, and then we have a mind that's like comparing. Yeah. I often feel that a lot of people's reaction to a teacher is often about the person. So there's two things that can happen when you're listening to a teacher speak, is you can hear non-duality beyond the person, which is the impersonal, which is the empty looking and the person, the I am, the empty looking and the impersonal, the I am. So you can hear that, and that's what we would call resonance. And then there is your personality interacting with their personality. And that's all dependent on your past. So whether they remind you of your mom, of your teachers, or your caregivers as a child, whether you feel competitive with them, whether you feel insignificant to them, better than, worse than, whether you feel that you can get attention from them or not get attention from them, whether you want attention or not attention. So then there's like the personality dynamics that all come into play. So you're like your sister or your brother, your mother. Like what I often notice is, like, so if I look at friends retreats that are male non-duality teachers, they often have a higher number of females. And then if I look to a female teacher, they often have a higher number of males that come to the talks. And it's really interesting that, because it's never really mentioned too much if the male has more female teachers. But if the female has more male teachers, then it's instantly, oh, they just go to her because of sex or because they're attracted to her. And then, but we don't really mention the other way around. But I always notice it's that way. And to me, I think it's partly about competition. And also non-duality can often tap into to love, like true love. And so there is a tendency to project that love onto the teacher, so the opposite sex, or if you're a lesbian or gay, the same sex. So firstly, competition. So it's like that the non-duality triggers the love, and then it can make you, if you're female or male, competitive with the other one. Or if it's the same opposite sex and you're straight, then it can make you fall in love with that person or admire that person. And that's all in the personality realm. And that's all okay. But that's not really what non-duality is about. The non-duality is about being the impersonal, which is right here. That empty looking in the I am that's beyond the person. It's funny the way it goes. And then there also can be a lot of hatred, I notice. Like for the teacher, it's dependent on how you related as a child. There can be so many things, like feeling rejected. Like I just talk into the camera, but then there might be the feeling of she doesn't love me or she rejects me, and then there's hatred. And it happens so quickly that it just feels like, don't like her, like a lump in the... Or him. It is a funky dunky chicken dance. That's the turkey dance. The chicken is... The turkey is... And that's really what it is. The human is a funky chicken or turkey dance. But what you're really here for is beyond form. It's beyond the character in which this is being spoken through. Really, these words are coming from no place and no thing. And that's who you truly are. That's who you truly are. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes it is. Yes it is. Yes it is. David. Okay, so if you'd like to call in, please put call me. Okay, so we've got John that says call me. John, I won't say your last name actually. Yes. Yes, just give him a yes, just so it gives him a moment to prepare himself. I don't give him the shock. Because you are behind me. Okay, he's seen that, so I will just pull him.
Hello.
Hey, John. Thanks for
Hey, I'm
calling.
glad that you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you well.
Yeah, oh, yeehaw. It's funny, I still had your YouTube video on for a second, so I was getting double Lisa.
Yeah. Yeah, that's confusing. How can I help you today or not help you?
Well, let's see. Um, so my roommate is a person with whom I have a lot of these types of discussions with.
Nice.
And over the past year and a half or whatever, I've been diving deeply into the intellectualism realm of stuff like this, of non-duality and other sort of philosophy branches. And he is, on the other hand, has not, and seems to continue to favor or be attached to a sort of depressed angle of self-worth and just general outlook. And even though now I think maybe he's coming out of maybe being continuously attached to that, it's been very present in our previous discussions that he was suffering very greatly from all of that.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Well, that's all right. I think he's doing better now, but what's funny is that the last conversation that we had, which was no more than a few days ago, was sort of almost a confrontation between him and I about not only like little petty roommate things, but it was also sort of me getting a little fed up with his depressed attachment mode, if I can call it that, and eventually us having almost a heated debate about these forms of thinking, because he was sort of like he was almost angry that I feel like he was almost angry that I had the ability to sort of see the existence or the almost the meaninglessness of life and not be depressed about it, or in fact be comfortable with it on certain levels, or at least say that I am.
May I just say something?
Yeah.
I would suggest that your roommate is not depressed because of that realization. I would say that that is a tendency in that body-mind mechanism, if it is depression. Like, so if you are seeing things accurately and he is experiencing depression, like, we can never be positive that we actually see the other accurately, because it could also be our projection. But if you aren't projecting onto him and you are listening and hearing him in a more accurate way, then I would say that it's not those thoughts that have given him, it's not those ideas that have given him depression. That is a pattern that will have been playing, a tendency that will already be there in his body-mind mechanism. And then when he hears that, it's just a confirmation of that. So I don't think it's that they gave him that tendency in any way. So when we hear this message, if we have a tendency more to depression, and normally moods fluctuate, but in some people, if there's more of a tendency towards depression and despair, they'll hear that and it will just add to the depression and the despair, rather than it being about a relationship or it being about their job or it being about their family. It will then get projected onto that. So, or it might unleash like a bit of a deeper feeling in them. So before it was like, my job is like pointless. Like now that might be a bit of a deeper feeling where life is meaningless, and that might be more what they feel at the root, is that their life is meaningless. If you tend to have more of an upbeat tendency, then you will hear life is meaningless, and then that will maybe be more of an upbeat thing. It's like, that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, that's. I think I understand what you're saying. It seems like I believe or feel like I've tried to do that with him, engage in the upbeat mode of that kind of response.
Yeah, it won't work.
It won't. I mean, even, you can always lead a horse to water, but you can't exactly force them to think of perspective,
Yeah, but I wouldn't assume that you can lead them to water. I'm not saying that you are doing something wrong, but your job is just to, as a friend, just to be yourself and to relate to them and how you feel. It's not to lead them to water. That's the job of a teacher or a psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that with love, and I say that having made that mistake many times myself, like believing that I can lead someone to water if only they would just listen to me. But that's not your job. When you're in an intimate relationship, your job is, I'm not saying you're intimate like sexually or romantically, I mean intimate as in friendship as well. Your job is to be vulnerable and open about how you feel and deal with yourself. And their job is to be open and vulnerable to how they feel and deal with themselves. And it's not your job to teach them how to do that. If they don't do that, that's still not your job to fix. When life calls them, they will go to someone that will teach them how to do that. That's a painful lesson to learn, because what we want to do is we want to teach everyone to be at where we are in our life, so then we can relate to them in an easier manner, but what we think is an easier manner. But it's just to keep being open and honest to yourself. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect at that. I can want to go in and quickly show somebody where they're deluded, but especially because I do this all the time. Like I speak to people and I speak in one-to-one sessions. In my intimate relationships, there can be a wanting to show them where they're getting into illusion, especially when you can see it really clearly. But it is not my business. I got to put my nose back on my face and get it out of theirs.
Yeah.
I presume that you're young, John, yeah?
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 24.
Yeah. That's a great time to learn this.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have many, many more relationships in your life. And it will be exhausting, if you get to 45 and all your relationships are about you looking after or you helping people. That's not what you want. Or teaching people. That's a business. That's you could do that as a business, or you could do that as your career. What you want in friendships is just to be open and honest with people about how you feel and how you see things. Just about you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
And then you just have to deal with your feelings of when you see someone stuck or when you see someone depressed and how that makes you feel. And you're also allowed to interact with people that aren't like that. Do you feel worthy to interact with people that aren't like that? If you're not in a helping role. And trust me, I'm a helper, so I know this very well. Not like a typical helper, but I have got these helper qualities. I'm not like an extreme helper, but there is these tendencies or these qualities inside me to be a helper in a format.
Yeah, something that I've noticed about myself is that intense helper, or the I had another sort of way of saying that exact same thing, but the the do whatever needs to be done, putting others first sort of type of role.
That will be infant training. That will come from pre-verbal training. It will be so deep in the responses in your body. And so what on the human level you have to do is just being conscious when you feel that energy coming up in you, and you just put it out there, like you just say it. I can feel my helper energy coming up. I can feel these insecurities coming up. And that's just so beautiful and so whole as a human to be able to do that. It's incredibly vulnerable. So, it's not something that you want to try and get rid of. That's not the goal of it. The goal of it is just to be conscious of when it's acting out. So it's not living a life where it's unconscious and then you exhaust yourself by the time you're 45. Just seeing it appearing. And just feeling, so when you're with someone that's depressed and has negative mindset, like feeling that frustration. Feeling that frustration. And I'm sure that led to the heated conversation. And it's also compassion as well, like feeling compassion for them. But you can't undo that. That will also most probably be pre-verbal in them as well. They have to do that themselves. And then you could question like who is themselves, but we're talking on the human level now. And then it's in those moments, so in that frustration with him, it's like feeling that on the human level, like being really raw and honest to that, but also deeply knowing who you truly are, that is absolutely free in that moment. Like really staying present, but it's not anybody staying present, but this presence coming forward of the I am and the empty looking, while the body is simultaneously feeling this frustration and this stuckness. It's kind of like you're feeling that frustration and stuckness, and that's also what they're feeling, ironically. So you feel it at them, and then they're feeling it about themselves.
Yeah, that's really good, Lisa.
And I'm allowed to be the helper in this situation because that's my paid job. So you have to go out and get a paid job like this, but he can't be one of your clients then.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice, John. Thank you for
odd
calling in and being so open about that.
Yeah. Thanks for having this platform, Lisa. You're great. Love your talks.
Oh, nice. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, thanks.
Take it
John.
easy.
Yeah. Bye. I kind of need to go pee. I could wait a little bit longer. Batch.
Hello.
Hi, I forgot to give you the warning. Sorry. So you maybe got a bit of a fright there.
The warning?
Warning. I normally warn people when I'm about to call them. I send them a message.
Oh, I thought you meant the pee-pee warning.
No, you just got to the pee-pee bit. No, I'm going to hold it in until we've spoken, and then I will go.
Okay. So, okay, this is an interesting one for you. I hope your pee-pee will wait. Will hope your patience will outlast you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Okay.
me too. I hope that as well, that it will hold.
Okay. So okay. This has to do with both acting and music, okay? Well, one of
Okay,
which I have experience in, the other I don't.
right.
Okay. So I'll ask you first of all, if you just non-duality aside, okay? You there?
Mm-hmm.
In non-duality aside, like what would you say the difference is between acting and not acting?
Do you mean acting on stage or acting with other people?
On a state, I'm thinking just more like in a conventional sense, just an actor
An actor, or like in a film or a TV, yeah. So what's the difference between
or,
acting
or
and
just
then and the human being the human, right? The character being the character.
yeah, just in the most, I don't want anything too, supernatural here. Just basic.
Yeah, because I am going to go really deep in that, because when I was younger, I studied acting, and I studied
Oh,
one
really?
technique I studied was Stanislavski. And Stanislavski, the idea of it was to become really one with the character that you were studying. So if you were playing
Okay.
like a part, you had to really like feel it and become one with it, so that you forgot yourself as the character Lisa, and then you became really present to that person, to that character.
So, and
Um,
then, but there were probably moments of not acting in there, right?
well, what used to happen with me when I acted, and this is most probably why I fell in love with acting, was
Mm.
that when I was really doing a good job, I just totally forgot about Lisa and forgot about that I was acting, or forgot anything. And I was just totally in the moment and doing it. I was just 100% there. I think that's true art, really. I think it's the same with music. When you play a piece of music, if you totally forget that you're playing the music, you're just totally in the music. I think this is like
Yeah.
what we call true art. So,
So then, okay. So how about this? So like when this sense of person or ego happens, that people forget that they're playing this character, right?
hmm,
I mean, they
yeah,
they they kind of don't even realize it a lot of the
yeah,
time. They just have this idea of who they are.
yeah,
Not that they're doing it on purpose, but like you
yeah.
were. But
Yeah, so there's different stages to me of waking up. So there is a stage where you have to wake up and really see that the character isn't you. So you really see that this character, these thoughts, these ideas aren't you. And then once that's really been grasped, and it's not intellectual,
Mhm.
it's like an energy. Like really, it's intellectual and an energy. But then the opposite happens. Then it's like you become 100% the character, and then there's the character and a deep connection to who you are as the absolute. But then it's like you become the character without that second. I mean, this is a crass way of saying it.
Without that, what?
The second, so often when you're identified, you're kind of like, you're performing a character. You're kind of like separating yourself. So you're watching yourself in a
Yeah,
way when you're
and
identified.
it seems like there's this like all these thoughts surrounding that
Everything you
initial
do.
character and
Mm.
history and
Yeah. So it's like, first of all, you pull out, you zoom out from the character, and then you zoom in. So, and the zooming in is like when I said about doing the true art, it's like you become one with the character in a way. And you just like totally love the character in all its imperfections. So it's not that the character then becomes enlightened. It's like, you know, when the character's angry, it's really angry. When the character's sad, it's really sad. When the character has insecurity, it's like really insecure. It's like fully what it is. Just like Khaleesi, my dog, is. Like when she growls or barks or something, she's so in it. Whereas a lot of the time,
But
when there's identification, you're kind of watching yourself and divided from yourself. So you're kind of like behind this veil of fog. So you're not really being your true character. You're kind of being behind this veil of fog and watching yourself. And what you do is contrived to an extent. It's kind of not immediate, it's contrived.
yeah.
But, I mean, like this is like you're rounding up lots of different stages that happen when within awakening.
Right. So like I've noticed that there's that initial phase. I think they call it neti or whatever. Where,
Not this, not that, not this, not that.
yeah. So then you kind of maybe stop believing your mind as much, you know,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
or ideas about what is real and.
Yeah, and in that stage, it's kind of like
But
going
then
backwards,
there's
backwards. Yeah.
What's that?
You kind of in that stage, you feel like you're going backwards, like what's behind that, what's behind that. It's not really backwards, but it's kind of, you know, and a lot of the teachers point to the consciousness which is behind all that, maybe including myself. But
Yeah.
like you kind of go backwards,
But then what
backwards.
you're saying, what I think you're saying is, I mean, eventually you just get this, to use the picture on the screen analogy. Eventually you're just blank. Kind of, you need to go back into being a character with a new understanding.
And that's the love part. It's like then like a zooming into everything, and that's the love part. And that's kind of like the childlike part as well. You know how like a child like plays for no reason. And
yeah, and you don't make, at least I picture it being more like
childlike.
And you're not going to base your life on something that happened that in the past or so much, you know,
Totally, yeah. You're more in the moment, in the character
you
sense
know,
of things.
I'm an accountant, so I do this or whatever, you know, it's more of a broader understanding, for lack of a better term. But it seems like there has to be that third step of going back into living life and not just sitting there being a non-person, right?
Yeah. And sometimes those steps can happen all out of order. You know, like I'm saying,
really?
it's in like you can also sometimes like have these awakenings where you're just so in the moment and there's no touching to that emptiness or detachment. It can happen all out of order. Like we just say out and then go back in, and then that makes sense in the mind. But I've seen people that have had these like love awakenings and become really present, but they haven't detached from the character. There's still a belief in them that they're a character.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really, but they're so childlike and beautiful and playful, but they think it's them and happening to them. So it's all types of different ways.
Might kind of that childlike playing might kind of go into my next part here. I'll try to keep it brief.
Yeah, but when you play music, I'm sure you have that.
Yeah. So me and a friend of mine, we like to get together, and they play drums, and then I'll play a little simple bass line on the keyboard, and then we just improvise, right? So and I've noticed these two distinct.
Sorry, excuse me a minute. I'm just Close is barking at the door. Just 1 second.
Okay. I've noticed these two distinct states where one, you know how sometimes you feel like, oh God, this just isn't working. You know, everything I do doesn't work. And then it's like, God, everything I play is perfect. What's going on? Like two distinct states.
Smelly dog. Smelly dog. Sorry about that. You were saying about your music. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello?
Oh, you there?
Yeah, I'm back.
Oh, okay. So sometimes, it's like, God, nothing went right today, no matter what I played, it didn't sound right.
Mm.
Right. And then other times it's like, I,
Just the flow.
I couldn't touch a note without it sounding perfect. And,
Mm. Mm.
and okay. So what I've kind of noticed about these two different states is the one when it tends to not work is when you're trying to get it right.
Mm.
Like you're trying to kind of copy things you've done in the past or what you've heard other people do with kind of these rules.
Mm.
Like, okay, let me try this one. I remember I did this one once. And then the one where it tends to go right,
So
you
there's
kind of
just, yeah, sorry.
throw that all out the window, and it's just like there's nothing, and you just start playing around,
Mm.
and it's like a
Totally.
play.
Yeah. And it's just a real intimacy with what's happening. And
Yeah,
you can't really maneuver that, because like if you try to be really intimate with what's happening, then it's already you trying to. It's something that happens or doesn't. And it's so beautiful, and that's what people call flow, that's what people call love, and that's what everybody is seeking for, is actually to
yeah,
be in the moment. But it's not really them in the moment, it's for that to come forward. It's what we remember in childhood, it's what happens in that moment in falling in love. It's what you are, it's what everybody is longing for, is that moment.
yeah. And I've noticed there's kind of an absence of
Mm.
it's not like there's something more you go into where all of a sudden you're in the state. It's more of like an absence of, you're kind of like, excuse my language, but you're kind of like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do what I want.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there's less of you.
And then it
Yeah.
ends up sounding cool because you're just like messing around and, what if I try this?
Yeah,
And
nice. Yeah. Yeah,
so I don't
beautiful.
know. It seems like they're kind of related, like
Mm.
what we were
Totally.
talking about, where there's the more carefree character that comes in that has less limitations, and it's actually more of an absence of limitations.
Mm.
And same with when you're playing, improvising, it's more of an absence of
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with
limitations
that. Yeah.
as opposed to like, okay, now I'm going to get in touch with God
Yeah, nice.
and,
Yeah.
play. You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
seems like
totally.
it's kind of
Yeah.
more of a freedom.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's a nice way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So
thanks for
anyway,
calling in and sharing that. That's beautiful. Yeah, and I
yeah,
love
and
putting it in relationship to art.
yeah, and
Mm.
I like the way you describe that second character, I guess you would say. Like, you kind of eliminate the delusions of the first character,
Mm.
and then you're free of those limitations, and you can go into life
Mm. Nice.
and be your real self,
Yeah. Yeah,
play
thanks,
around.
Birch. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no
nice.
problem.
Yeah.
All right, well, enjoy your urination.
Yeah, thank you. I will do, as always.
All right,
Yeah, thanks, Birch.
all right. See you next time.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Yeah, I've actually changed my mind and I'm not going to urinate. I'm going to carry on with the questions. Yes, if you want to call me, please call me. And call me's will take first preference. Yeah. Hi, Schumann. Hi, Lisa. Thank you very much for your talk. Would it be possible to elaborate when you say non-duality is not for the faint-hearted? I ask because it does imply living what you know to be true without being inhibited by what might be consequences. Thank you very much, as always. Love, Schumann. It really is, when you're identified, it's all about you and your attachments and your life, and the focus is on you. And in waking up, it's going back to that place that's beyond that has no attachments, that loves no matter what, that's free. And that is really scary. Like normally the person has so many conditions. It doesn't mean that you have to destroy all your conditions, but it's just that what is it that's beyond that? What is it beyond your relationships, beyond your connections, beyond others, beyond your work, beyond your identity? What else is there that's free? Doesn't care about good or bad, or right or wrong, or up or down, or left or right, or past or future, or having or not having, or anything. Yeah, thanks, Schumann. Devish. When I'm alone in the room, I just see that I'm alone and the one thinking and listening and responding to my thoughts. I see that I'm truly alone in the room, and then there is no suffering at all. It feels like I have never done anything right or wrong. It feels like I can never do anything right or wrong. I am either guilty or not guilty, neither good or bad. I feel it's the conversation I have within me creates so much unnecessary suffering by defining me constantly. It's so funny. I can talk to myself when I'm the only one in the room. It's pretty funny and nothing special, but this is cool that the next definition I will give myself or the other in my mind will be the cause of my suffering. It feels that I can't stop the conversation as it doesn't exist because it's already over. Can you please talk about your experience of life when you sit alone in the room? My experience when I sit alone in the room. I mean, could be many different experiences. The suffering is the attachment to that being you. What else is there that's free of that? There is this I am and this empty looking that's totally free of that. And what happens when there's attachment is there's like the glomming on. It's like they become one. So it's not that I don't have thoughts or I don't have negative stories about Lisa arising. That happens, but it's this attachment. That is not who you are. So what else is happening in the experience that's free? What else is happening? What else is happening? If you do this on a regular basis, it actually pulls your face upwards. I can only do it on this side of the face, and this side of my face is higher than that side of my face. Me being a banana. All there is this consciousness and this I am. And in that there is a personality of forms and there is attachment to it. It's not having those feelings. Those feelings are welcome, but they are not you. What you are is this empty looking and I am. Find that. Find that. So on the human level, if you want something to do, just keep going back to that. So it's not ignoring the feelings, allowing them to be there, but keep going back to that place of stillness. On the human level, that's an activity. But do that only with the disclaimer that it's not really you doing it, that's happening. Just like a speaking's happening now and listening's happening now, and it either happens or doesn't happen, but the person is always like, me, I'm doing it, I, me. She's giving a prescription, but to who? We all become turkeys. And then I imagine Devish is an older gentleman with a long beard sitting there like really profoundly taking notes on everything I say. And then rocking his beads, his mandlas, his religious pictures behind him, his gurus. And then I'm like, and he tries to write that down. It'd be better to do a picture of that rather than try and write it in words. But if you do want to write it in words, it's a lot of G's and O's and B's. Devish. It's not who you are. You are the empty looking and the I am. So the thoughts of shame or guilt or pride come up and they appear, but it's not you. Nisargadatta Maharaj at one point says, stay with the I am. And that was his practice for 3 years. And then you discover there's no one that can stay with the I am. So that's happening. And here you are, this emptiness and this I am. That is nowhere and all places. The consciousness is not behind the eyes, it's not inside the character, it's not inside that narrative. It is all places. It's the wall, it's the curtains, it's the light, it's the computer screen, it's my voice. Everything appears and disappears from that. The same with that I am, which is love. Love is the table, the light, the computer, the wall, the door. And it's also that personality that gets stuck. But it's clear of that also. It's none of that as well. When you're identified, you're just that, you're just the personality, and then the world is out there. No, I'm young, 20s, don't call me old. Are you oldest? Why do you not want to be called old? I'm 96, I'll have you know. I just look young because of all the meditation. Hey Jackie. Hi Lisa, I heard you speak before about Ramesh Bolsaka saying that you should do whatever you like in every given moment. It's really safe to disregard all the time and just do what you want. Is it, I think you meant, really safe to discard all the time and just do. I think the problem with that statement, I come to realize, is that most people don't know what they really want to do. They're not in touch with the pure character. They're in touch with their fear and anxiety and the persecutory voice, the anxiety, the fear, the wanting, the desire. So they don't really know what that is. So, it's a difficult thing, that part of this. So if you're in, self-destruction, that will feel like that's what you want to do. So firstly, you've got to get in touch with what is the character's wants and needs, like the more true character. Beyond the neurosis. Hi, Lisa. Yep, that's the end of the question. Thanks, Jackie. Yes, Vinso. Yes. But I am going to go to the toilet now. Got time for one last call. I'm just going to go and relieve myself. You should watch that. Hello. Okay. Vincio. Vincio from Saudi Arabia. Okay, Vincio. I'm in a tangle.
Hello, hi.
Hey, Vincio. Is that how I say your name?
No, it's Vincenzo.
Vincenzo. Vincenzo.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Hello, Vincenzo. How can I help you or not help you today?
Oh, hi. So, a couple weeks ago, I asked, like I said, I'm still having difficulty with the fact that nothing's happening and all is nothing, and I'm still having difficulty with that. Like, like that still doesn't, in my everyday life, that still isn't a fact.
That still isn't a what, sorry?
A fact, like
A fact, okay,
still,
yeah. And so, and what's the problem with it not being a fact? Like, do you not like the way that your everyday life is at the moment?
No, it's fine. Everyday life, but
You want it to
like
be fact, you want to see that.
yeah, because like it's so complex, life.
Yeah. So just notice that there is a you inside of you that wants to get this realization, that wants to understand or have that seeing that's beyond words. So there is a you that's imagining this destination that you want to be at. Often we do that when we can't or don't want to be in the moment that we're in. So often that seeking arises when we don't fully want to commit to what's actually happening right now. It's not actually an activity, it's more that the seeking is an activity that arises. So there is this that's happening right now, and there is a person that's appearing that doesn't want to be here right now, that wants to be in an idea of something else, which it can never get to because you can never be inside an idea. That's a funky idea in itself, that we could be inside an idea. So the idea is enlightenment, whatever that means to you, or nothingness, or the expansion, whatever it is that you want, there is an energy that wants to get there. So what's happening right now is there is this empty looking and this I amness, and that's fact. There's always consciousness. There has to be consciousness in order for things to appear, and there is this sense of being. So these are two fundamental essence of what is. And that's here and that's free. It's totally free. It's in all things. It's the room, it's the sky, it's the computer, it's my voice. And it's free. It doesn't have any problems. It doesn't want anything for itself. It doesn't desire. It's, you could say, absolute contentment, absolute love. And then there is this character that's arising, and there's kind of this energy that pulls you into it, and then this character wants to arrive at that. But it's not in the character, it's not in the thoughts, it's not in the future. And I know you've mostly heard this said 1,000 times, but that person is so deeply convinced that it's in time. It's in the actual looking. It's in that which is looking. And it's in that sense of being. And that looking and that being is no thing and all things. It's not a thing you can find, but yet it's all things that are.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah. A-okay. So just notice what happens in the body. Like there might be feelings that arise. You know, maybe you feel dismissed. Often when I used to listen to non-duality or have non-duality questions, I used to feel dismissed. Or maybe you feel happy, or maybe you feel proud, or maybe you feel shame. Just notice that there's bodily feelings arising. There's thoughts that's arising. There's an energy that wants to do something, maybe get off the phone or ask another question. And then there is this still empty looking, and the I am. And that is the freedom, that emptiness and this beingness, this empty looking and the beingness. It's right here. It doesn't move. It's home. It's all you've ever wanted.
It's always here.
Always here.
The body generally feels contracted in the chest, for me at least. Don't know if that's common. I don't know.
Yeah, it's quite common, and people tend to have different places in which there is contraction and then identification. So the contraction is actually the chakra, so it's the heart chakra, and that will most probably be where you have most identity. So you most probably have seeking and avoidance in love. So like
Okay.
it's like seeking love from people, seeking approval from people, seeking love in what you do. And then there can also be avoidance of love, trying to avoid love.
I don't want to go on the person.
Okay. Yeah.
No, it's fine. Sorry.
Yeah. No, totally, yeah. That's okay. Yeah, we don't have to talk about that part at all. So that's just what the heart area represents. It's not saying that's
But
the
it
case
means
for you. Yeah.
yeah,
But,
I get it.
that's the stories that more than likely will suck you into the personality structure. And there'll be identity around. And when they get activated, then there is this strong seeking to either avoid or obtain. and then you feel very identified with the person. But your freedom always is the empty looking and the I am.
So I don't need to get rid of the contraction, like paying attention to it or something.
Yeah, just pay attention to it. Normally, if it's really strong, then it will normally activate seeking, which will be the identification every time you get triggered in the flow of life. So normally what happens as you begin to wake up is there is an exploration of the person and a settling down of the personal dynamics and becoming more conscious of it. But not always, but normally that coincides together because, you know, when I was younger prior to getting into this subject, you know, that I was very reactive. I didn't know that I was very reactive, but and so there was a lot of seeking and avoidance going on, and a lot of delusion, like illusory stories that I was telling myself, and that created lots of seeking. And then through that seeking, there was lots of identification. And then, you know, if someone had said to me at that time, "Who you are is this I am and this empty looking," I'd have no clue what they're talking about because there would have been a lot of energy in the seeking and the feelings and the thoughts, and so they seemed what was true. So what happened through time is the character settled down while simultaneously listening to non-duality, and then bit by bit it became more and more clear. But I still work on my person now. I don't know if you ever get rid of your traumas and your issues. Like I can have the heart chakra contract, or you know, and I think that's normal. That's part of being human. Like they're like traffic lights of guiding us through this life. And sometimes I can get into illusory stories about it, and sometimes not.
Oh, okay.
We're back to A-OK again.
It's so hard to believe I'm not a person in time.
Yeah, on the human level, it can be settling for the human to believe that, but actually, you don't need to believe it in order for this realization. It's actually something that's prior to belief. But the belief can settle the person down and can be very relaxing and healing. But it's actually what is prior to all beliefs, like right here, right now.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, with pleasure.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for calling in and being so vulnerable and open, and I really appreciate that, and asking questions. It's not easy to call into a live stream and then ask away. Yeah.
It's fine. I hope I'm helping people.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it was beautiful interaction. Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. Have a beautiful evening.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Ja, nice. Das ist genug. Das ist genug. Ja. Okay, my lovelies. That is enough for today. Yeah, thank you for everybody that called in, was open and vulnerable. And thank you to Lisa for being the vessel in which this is communicated tonight. Being taken over. That's a joke. Or is it? Yeah, and being taken over by the Russian mafia in order to create havoc in Europe and America. That is also a joke. I mean, that's what they always say about social media. It's like China and Russia putting all these like conspiracy theories. Okay, yes, so that is all. If you want to join me next Saturday on the 15th, I have a Zoom talk where you can ask questions and it won't be recorded. You can find that on my website. You can come and join me in France in May for live talks. Yeah. And I wish you everything, not just one thing, two things, or three things, but every goddamn thing. Everything. Yeah. Nice. Tschüss.